Today I'm going to take the little loop that I made in the last video and try and turn it into something longer and with a little more structure. We'll see if we get to, a proper song that may or may not be practical. So I should be able to hear what this currently sounds like, which is just this, harpless strong pluck with a sort of a grindy, noisy bass sound underneath, which I'm calling drones because that was the original version of it. I'm actually going to fix that because they're not really drones. So we're going to call that bass. Cool. Okay. So now what do I want to do about this? To make a song, I'm going to want some layers that I can pull in and out. And so the simplest thing is to just stick some gain on these guys. So I could, this one's already down quite a bit. I could, progressively make that quieter. And use that to make sections and stuff. I have ways of doing that more smoothly than what I just did, which is what I'll set up. But cool. And then I can go the other direction and pull this stuff out. Get just the bass sound. Interesting, that bass sound actually kind of dominates. I guess that is why I had it turned down. Anyway, so those are things I can control. And what else have I got that's interesting? Earlier, in a video which I chose not to upload, because my recording was just bad. What is the file called? Just synth. And this one, which is a slightly different sound, and maybe I can just combine them. I don't actually remember. Yeah, it's kind of bloopy. It's not actually that different from what I had in the other one. But it's a little bit smoother, doesn't have the same noise. Might be useful. I'm gonna give it an actual name. I'm gonna call it bass, because that's what I was trying to make. So now what I'm gonna do, because I want to sort of use this in the other file without necessarily having to copy all this code over. In my live coding language, I actually have a way of dynamic node constructors. So this is similar to the node constructors I have that are actually specified in the raw Rust, which I showed some in the last video. But these are, instead of that, they're sort of a dynamic bundle that I can use as a node constructor in other things. So we're going to call this bass. It looks like that. And so inside these node definitions, node constructors, I have, in addition to output, which is what I use to send signals to the outside world, I have input. So in this case, I have a tempo, just a chain of signals, impulses, that I'm using to drive this sequence. But that's not what I want. What I want is to be able to control it externally. So I'm going to take everywhere where I say tempo, everywhere I say tempo, and I'm going to say there's an input port that is going to have this gate on it. And by convention, I have been using the second input port for the gates, I think. So let's do that. So I no longer need that. Now, I don't want to be playing a sequence either. So everywhere where I say sequence, I'm going to say, instead, that's going to be the first input port, because by convention, that's my pitch. I don't actually have to specify the 0, because it's there by default, but just will for clarity. Okay, so my sound should go away here, or not. Oh, because I moved the file, and the reloader can't find it anymore. That's fine. Okay, but now we're going to go back to the KPS one. And then that. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to include. So I have a little include bit, which I think that's the syntax for it. And then I called it base. So now I have that node definition that I just wrote inside this file, and now I can use it like I use other node constructors. So for instance, if I wanted a section where instead of playing this sound, silence that, I played my other bass sound. So that's just invoke the constructor like I do any other. And then I needed inputs. The first input was pitch. And we'll just use the same pitch I was using for these guys, which is that. And then my impulse is what was I using as an impulse? I guess I was just playing continuous sounds, which I was, yeah. So we'll just start with tempo. That'll be my impulses. Okay. And then now I'm gonna pipe these guys or patch this guy into. The other thing I want to work on today is some stereo spread, because that's currently a thing I don't have. So now I have that bass sound that I had from the other, except instead of playing the little sequence it was playing, it's now playing whatever this noise I have going is. And I think it actually doesn't really sound that different than the other thing I made, because I have a type. This is just a little bit harsher. A little more sort of electronic sounding. And louder. Okay. I can work with it though. So I've actually sort of got 3 layers, 4 layers, because I have these 2 sounds, which are sort of bassy, that I built before, and this new one that I just added, and in the Carpal Strong's plucks. And I just remembered that there was something in that bass sound that I had decided that I could use for modulation, and it was this parameter. So let's actually add that as a new input. And we used 0 and 1, so we used 2. This could make things break up. And so now go back to what it was before. Yeah, okay, so that is my memory of this sound, is that changing that let me move the sound around in interesting ways. So I can go from that sort of metallic thing to this is a little more, whatever it is, and this, which is kind of bloopy, because I like the bloop. Okay, cool. So that's a bunch of stuff to work with. And now the trick is, can I do something with it? So one of the things I'm going to need to make large-scale sort of strong song structure is some way of doing automation effectively, like you would in a DAW. So a way of moving these parameters around. And in the previous video, I was using my sequences a little bit, which are basically just like a sequence where you drive them with impulses, and then it moves through a list of values. But I also have a sort of interpolation-based automation thingy, which, for the life of me, I can't remember the syntax of, so we're going to have to look that up into the writhing horror that is my expression parser. Automate. So automation looks like a name, which will be the node that will have that value in it, so that I can use that in other expressions. And that will be equal to square brackets with lists of interpolation. So an interpolation is either a constant or a linear interpolation between 2 values. Okay, I remember this now. Cool. So let's do. So let's just to start with, let's do an automation for my different bass sounds. So if I want them to sort of rise and fall, in and out of each other in a loop, so we're gonna call that bass gain, and that's going to be a linear interpolation from A to B over time. I think that's the order of things. So it's going to start at 0, it's going to rise to 1, and that's going to take, I don't know, 5 seconds. So that gives me an up, and then we'll just see what this sounds like. I'll go back down again. So this is going to start at 5, fall to 0 over the course of 5 seconds. So that's not particularly interesting, but it's, gives us this thing. So now what do I do with that? So I'm going to group these basses in 2. So I'm going to say that this one and this one are part of the same group. I can put them into a little submixer to express that more cleanly, but I'm just not going to bother. So they take bass gain directly, and also this one. I know that this sound is loud, so I'm going to want to additionally scale it down by some value. Okay, so now you hear that come in. Takes about 5 seconds. Gets really loud. And then fades out again. I don't know why it gets so loud at the end. Whatever. Okay. Now this guy, I'm going to actually go the other direction. So I know my base gain is between 0 and 1. It is not between 0 and 1. That's why it's freaking out. There. Now it's between 0 and 1. But I killed the reload because this is garbage. Okay, but this is going to be, so when the other one rises, this one will fall, and then this one, and vice versa. Did you really just die? Okay. So again, you're not super interesting, but they're sort of trading places with each other. Now, probably a better way of doing that is to say, I want the transition to happen quickly, half a second, say, to last, give it a constant value of 1 for 5 seconds, and then to, no, that's still right, and to drop again over the course of 0 seconds, and to stay low for another 5 seconds. So now my total time should be 11 seconds. But they should sort of give a sharper section transition. Yeah. It's still like it sort of slides in and out, and you could make this even shorter or instantaneous, although then you risk stuff clicking. Okay. So there's some structure. Now, what it might be kind of cool is to do, like this gives me, I always have basically the same amount of bass. It's just I switch back and forth between the two sounds. And they're roughly equally loud. But if I wanted to do like a bass drop, where I remove all the bass for a while and then bring it back, I need a second control that lets me do that. So let's think about how I would do that. So maybe this isn't bass gain, maybe this is bass gain is ratio. That controls which basses are playing. And now I'm going to have a bass gain, which controls the overall volume of the basses as a section. And so to do like a droppy thing, let's say that they play at full volume for 5 seconds. And for real size sections, you'd want these longer, obviously, but and they very quickly drop to 0, so you go from 1 to 0 over the course of a tenth of a second. It's like someone yanking on a knob. And then they play, they're silent for, let's actually make this not line up with that other loop at all. You very explicitly be out of sync. 8 seconds, and for another 8 seconds, they're silent. And then they suddenly come back in again. And that's what I want. 0 to 1 over the course of 10 seconds. Actually, I have to do something with that value. pulls the bass out. We can just hear the carpal strong plugs. It's not quite doing what I was expecting. I guess it is. Part of the problem here is that one of these basses is much more dramatic than the other, I think. So depending on which one happens to be in cycle, like in phase, when the bass returns, you get a very different effect. Also, there's no sense of anything happening before you get the drop. We could do that sort of cheaply by saying overall, okay, it's making stuff louder. So to get the effect of a drop, I would want because I'm just trying to keep this looping, so I don't know why I'm doing that. No particular reason, but so let's say I do a linear drop. No, I don't need that. I do a constant. Constant. So we're at like standard volume, whatever that is, for the first 8.1 seconds. So that lines us up with the beginning of that rise. And then now we're in the point where the bass is quiet or is off. So let's do a riser there. It's gonna be a boring ass riser because it's just gonna get louder, but we can fix that later. And so we're gonna rise from 1 to 3 at that volume. I'm probably starting to clip, and that's going to take 8 seconds, and then what do we want to do? Because we want to. I guess the riser stops. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what this is going to sound like. I'm debating whether or not we want to stay loud while the bass comes back in, or drop quiet, sort of in the instant that the bass reappears. Let's just see what that sounds like. So that's going to go, I guess, just for 0.1 seconds to get me synced back up. Okay, so overall gain can go here, where I pipe stuff into the actual output. Now we should hear that effect. It does get louder. Yeah, it doesn't really give you the effect. I mean, there's something happening. There's clearly like a section transition, but it's not like a swell and drop. Part of that is because the KPS voice isn't really distinct from the basses particularly, because they're both actually pretty broad spectrum. also I think my riser isn't really very effective because it's not actually doing anything. Mostly just because this is easier than trying to figure out how to differentiate the bass voices and the lead voice. Let's just make a more dramatic riser. So instead of just cranking the volume, we'll give we'll just make a riser. And so the riser is going to be filtered noise. Let's see how that goes. And I have a noise source already. I'm going to use a low pass filter for this. And it's going to take its frequency from another automation, which doesn't exist yet. Start with a non-resident and non-driven. And then the input's going to be my noise source. Okay. So the frequency is going to be okay, so I want this synced with my overall gain automation. I also want this to only play. I guess I can do that just by having the frequency be low. So it starts out with a cutoff frequency subsonic. So I'll just say 1 hertz. I actually don't know how well these Semper SVFs perform at super low frequencies. I guess we'll find out. And we're going to play that for 8.1 seconds. Okay. And then the rise in my gain thing takes 8 seconds. So this should also take 8 seconds. So we're going to go a linear increase from 1 up to, I don't know what the top is that we want. Fairly high. I mean, up there it's going to be basically noise. It is literally noise. It will be. That's all you'll hear. And then now we just need this final bit to sync back up, and that brings us back to 1. Okay, so now we're synced with the other thing. Let's get that into my mixer. It sort of works. I mean, it mostly just sounds like the ocean coming in. So how do we make that more interesting? Because that's not really what a riser's supposed to sound like. I think it's maybe it wants to go higher and possibly resonate a little bit. It sounds a little bit better. It might be starting to get kind of loud. But like this isn't going to be good enough. I need more than this. So let's give it a. Actually, that's getting close. What if I take the last half second and make that much sharper, so it's going to do the same amount of rise, but over. So it's going to like swoosh up. Basically, I'm emulating a non-linear thing. but it should give me a little whoop at the end. Okay, but I think I still want this. Okay. It is probably does still get too loud though. But we'll just see what this is going to do. I don't know how many more times I want to listen to that. Because that is real annoying. Let's make it quieter. Oh, but that's not actually going to do anything because that will just have killed my thing because I have this unfinished code. Whatever. Okay. Now we should be working again. There we go. One of the quirks of this is the automation resets every time I write the node, write the description, which is sometimes nice for testing, but sometimes just annoying because other nodes don't do that. And I don't know, fix that somehow. Okay. This is starting to sound, I don't know, like a kind of music that I'm not super fond of. I'm not sure exactly what kind that is, but I'm just going to keep going with it. So what I'm going to make this an LFO. So that cycle or that swirling sound can increase as the riser rises. And I'm going to do that by rising from 1, what I had it at 10. So let's just say 100. And we'll keep it synced up with the other one just by pushing that a little bit higher. And then that should all be fine. Yeah, we'd like that to be a little more pitched. It just sounds like white noise. And this is the thing I struggled with a little bit in the last video as well. Of how to get like more of a pitch sound out of noise like that. I don't really know what the right thing to do is. My solution to the last one is to stack filters. And that sort of worked. Maybe I'll try that here too. Now I'm basically running it through the same filter configuration twice. Probably have to reduce or adjust the resonance a little bit. Okay, definitely too loud at the end. Does sound kind of like a spaceship taking off. Not sure I'm super into that, but on the other hand, who might argue with spaceships? And one thing is, it doesn't really match the other sounds I've got going on very well. Like, I think it's a riser that you could actually use in some kind of music. I'm not sure it fits in this kind of music. If I can make it sound a little more granular, one of the projects I have on my to-do list is to build an actual granular synthesizer of some sort for this, but I haven't done it yet. So the only way that I really have to make it sound granular, I think, is to sort of overlay some sort of low frequency noise. So let's think about how to do that. So what if I say we're going to have a riser noise gain? And what that's going to be is that's going to be a heavily filtered copy of my noise. With a low pass filter at, I don't know, real low. With noise. Okay, I think that actually worked. It's just really quiet now. So let's yeah, I think I do like that. It's still too quiet. I mean, I guess you'd expect the noise to reduce. If it's just raw white noise, it should. Okay, I like it. It's cool. Yeah, if it's just raw white noise, I guess if it's raw white noise evenly between -1 and 1, the overall amplitude should stay the same, I think, on average. But this is filtered white noise, really aggressively filtered white noise. So that's not going to be true. The white noise is going to be very quiet, which means it's going to make the signal quiet. Okay. I don't know, that's pretty weird, but I think it's cool. Okay. So I kind of want the sort of the frequency of that noise to shift as the riser rises as well. So let's think about how I do that. So I have this guy that's driving the frequency, driving the LFO frequency. This is driving the frequency of my filter. So I really want it to be the same as this one. I could probably do some math on that to make it work, but that's too hard. So instead, I'm just going to make another automation that's going to be LFO riser noise frequency. And that's going to say start at 30. Let's start lower. Start at 10. Rise from 10 to I don't know, 90. I guess since I'm doing this everywhere else, we'll do this here too. I'll make that final sweep up to 180. I don't really know what that's going to sound like, but and then drop down to 10. Okay, that's pretty crunchy, but I think it's cool. Okay, so now we've got a riser that's, I don't know, it's not super awesome, but I think it's neat. And it sort of fits the tone of this, maybe? I don't know, it's still a little, like, grindy. Could be I want to put the whole thing through, like, a low pass or something. Let's try that. Picking up frequency is a little tricky. We'll start with that and see what it does. And then raise gain. I want this whole blue. And then okay, yeah, that actually sounds a lot better to me. Okay, cool. So, all right, so I think I'm satisfied with that. So now, what do I want? So, we've got this riser to mark a section transition with, but we don't really have sections to transition in and out of. Like, we've got, you know, bass and no bass. So, let's think about that. Okay. So let's think about some kind of sort of intro, just to lead into a first section. And the intro, what is my primary drum sound? I guess it's these bass sounds. I mean, the KPS stuff has those clicks, which are a little like almost like a hi-hat, but they're not really a bass drum. Oh, I was gonna make the KPS a higher frequency. I still think that's a good idea. So. Let me think about KPS in isolation for a second. This, I'm using Cocoon, the text editor, which has a lot of things in it that I super like, but their handling of undo is not good. And that is my number one frustrating mistake that I make in this editor is try and undo stuff and it just does random things and leaves like weird selections scattered all over the file in the process. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. Okay. the tapping is really intense. And I kind of want to... I wonder if I can reduce the intensity of that somehow. I mean, I could filter. I have... I'm taking the output of filter. It never goes particularly high. I mean, I could put a compressor on it. It would be really fast to catch that transient. I mean, I could put a limiter on it. It might actually sound kind of interesting. It'll sound distorted. I don't have a great limiter right now. What I've got is this thing, which I think is called soft clip. And it's an HTAN based clipper, soft clipper. And it makes kind of a interesting distortion, but it's not as a limiter. It leaves some things to be desired. No definition for soft clip. Is that? What did I call it? Something else. With an underscore. A for consistency. Doesn't really affect the tapping. I mean, it doesn't really affect anything. I mean, I can drive it. I guess these things they're just not that loud, except that initial tap. You can hear it distorting, but it's... Well, that's dumb. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, whatever that's doing, it's not getting me what I want, so... go back to what I had before. Okay. I mean... This is almost certainly not going to work, but I am actually kind of curious what it sounds like. So this would be like I am subtracting the noise pulse out of the final signal, and I think that ignores some important things fundamentally about how the carpless drawing is actually working, but yeah, it changes the sound of the clip. I guess because it's just being driven to super negative for a while, and that is actually uncomfortable to listen to. Okay, so not that. Yeah, I think I'd have to be much cleverer to actually make that work. Oh, whatever. That's interesting. It's not too surprising. If I spread out the noise pulse, you can sort of hear the noise itself a little bit better. kind of sounds like almost like a cheapo snare drum effect, which is not what I want, but. Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I remember this when I was initially working on this. You could do some cool stuff by changing this. So that's another parameter I could modulate to get different sounds in different sections. That's kind of cool. That had not occurred to me, but you can sort of get it to play a scale. Or I don't know, not really a scale, rising tones. But if you make it fast enough, it's basically random. If you make it slow, then you can hear the wave. Okay. Still not what I was trying to do. And this is the one where I was just getting noise. Well, actually, let's try this. I think I since I did the last video, I fixed my filter so they will no longer get nans and infinite values stuck in them. So I should be able to crank this up as high as I want. It'll just go silent. Nope. Not bad. Okay, my fix didn't work then. That's the first time I was trying to test it. Don't know. Okay, whatever. What? Like, I want these pulses to last a little bit longer, I think. But the gain on the delay line is really the only way I can think of to do that. And it does that other thing instead. So what does that mean? That's an interesting change in timbre. Too loud, but... I don't want to drive it deeper. Yeah, I think it's too sharp though. How do I make these sustain more? I mean, the sustain has to be some combination of this filter and this gain. And I guess the frequency with which I'm injecting new noise. So what if I just make this real slow? Okay, so now can I now increase this more than I could before? Nope. Huh. Whatever. This is not really what I'm meant to be playing with right now. So instead of if I can't figure out how to make these guys be more of like a sustain note thing, and they're going to stay percussive like this, then if I want a top voice that's more like a sustained thing. I just have to get it from something else, so I can make a new voice. Okay, so let me bring in the other stuff so I can remember what this sounds like. Okay. Cool. All right, I'm going to pause and take a break, and then come back to this in a bit. Okay. So previously, I was trying to make the KPS voice more distinct from the basses, as kind of an upper voice, and I think I've decided that's, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to try. And instead, I'm just going to introduce something else to be a voice in that upper range. But before I do that, I wanted to try a thing which hadn't occurred to me until just a few minutes ago, but I decided I wanted to try it, which is moving my tempo to audio rate. This is just to see what that sounds like, because I'm not really sure. Okay, that's kind of neat. Sounds, sort of like a rocket taking off. But it's interesting to know that I can, if I want to, I can actually drive these sequences at audio rate. And no, not the sequences. Not the automations, regular sequence. But everything else goes at audio rate. Huh, interesting. Okay. So what I want is a more distinct upper voice. So let's just start building that. So what's that probably going to sound like? It's going to sound like a filtered saw wave, maybe. Try that. And it's going to want to pitch. The only real pitch I have right now is the one I'm using for the basses. So let's just take that and figure out what to do with it. That is the wrong thing. Where's my bass pitch? Right where I was looking. Okay, so maybe that's just misnamed. I can actually use it, because down here I moved around an octave a bunch. Maybe if I just push this up an octave. Let's see how that sounds. So I know I'm going to want to filter this at very least, so add something. And then stick it in the mixer. Okay, that's too low. That's a little mechanical, but it's too loud. So I was also starting to get kind of busy because this is sitting on top, rhythmically sitting on top of the bass notes. Okay, I got to calm this stuff down so I can understand what I'm doing. And also the riser. Also KPS. Okay, so now just this thing. do a little more with the sections here. Because right now I basically built this around the riser and bass drop transition, which is not really even working very well. So this is gonna get awkward because I don't have a good way to like compose these automations together. But do I not have a good way to compose these automations together? Maybe I do, actually. A thought that has never occurred to me before. But let me just double check how I actually define these. So an interpolation is a number. Okay, so these are not expressions. So I actually can't. I was wondering if I could just drop like a node in here, in which case I could basically nest the automations by having an inner automation and an inner automation that was then nested within an outer automation by putting its output node at this value. But I'd have to write some code to make that work, and I don't want to right now. So okay, so let's just try and add another 8 seconds to the beginning of this loop. This is getting really hard to keep track of. And in those 8 seconds, the overall gain will be the same. The base ratio will be zero, I guess. That's fine. For 8 seconds. So that puts us in one direction or the other. I can't remember which. And base gain will be 1 for 16 seconds. So what I'm doing, I'm just adding a new section at the beginning. Although I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do in that section yet. And the riser remains silent during that section. The riser let's see. Is that all of my automations right now? I think it is. Okay. So now I've got instead of 8 sections at the beginning, 16 sections. And now I want something like this, but I'm going to use it to control the presence of this other upper voice. And let's call it upper gain. So now I'm going to use this to bring in the upper voice. So let's say we'll start 8. These are out of sync. Whatever. So this is a total of 5, 10, 11 seconds. So 10.5 seconds. So I get the 2 approximately equal halves with this upper gain. And we will so now the upper should sort of drop in and out. I have made a ridiculous thing, and I don't know how to make it any better. But I think I've learned some things about how one might do this. So I think I'm gonna declare defeat on this, and that is this silly thing I've made is as good as it's gonna get. And in the future, I'll come back and do it better. So that is that.